today. Really appreciate it. And I'm so excited to be in a room full of such talented creatives and writers. Thank you so much for letting me be a part. So like she said, I recently published my memoir, college memoir, Determination, A Mother of Five Conquers College. So it's a story of my college journey while raising my 5 young children, but it's also a story of learning to believe in myself. I'm going to read a short passage from the chapter, Two Selves, One Person. You know, before I started classes, an organized home, freshly prepared meals, engaging with my 5 children in play and education. These were the hallmarks of a good mother in my mind. Now I needed to figure out how to maintain the home and feed my family before the Board of Health found out they were subsisting on peanut butter and jelly, Cheerios and cheese. Forget the perfect housekeeping rules. They'd gone out in the trash with the dead houseplants I forgot to water. I instituted a new child labor law. If the child lived in my home, the child labored in my home. All of them. Dusting a part of the end tables, a piece of the shelf, sweeping some of the floor, vacuuming part of the rug, washing a dish, a cup, a spoon, anything. I cooked when absolutely necessary, on the weekends. Really heated during the week. Baking cookies and making breads were history, unless I could slip them in between writing papers and studying. Bill, my husband, helped cook whenever he was home. Food shopping became a necessity, and it became a family affair, performed only when the cupboards were almost bare. Since I was using the time when the children were at school to attend classes and work on group projects with classmates, I went shopping when the children were home. They came with me, and they had short lists of groceries to get at the store. I convinced myself that I was teaching them how to read lists and compare shop. But there's parameters. William needed items located far from the potato chip aisle. The twins had to be together and close to my aisle. Marie, my special needs oldest child, well, her list was neatly printed for large visual items like toilet paper and Cheerios. Michelle was methodical. I could give her a short list of sandwich bread, tomato sauce, penne pasta, and Parmesan cheese, and she could go about and pick them all up. Then I'd comb the aisles, gathering my children in their baskets and herding them all toward the checkout center. But what about that other self, the college student? You know, time management took on a whole new meaning when I had to figure out how to get college work and study done. Oh my, getting it accomplished in a house full of 6 other people. Yes, I'm including my husband, who never seemed to occupy themselves without me. They always wanted something, usually right in the middle of a paper due the next day. I needed to find some uninterrupted thinking time, and it was next to impossible. The 5 children had it down to a science. If each child came into the Florida room where I worked only once an hour, it meant I'd be dealing with one of them about every 12 minutes. Almost enough time to get a thought on the page, if my thoughts were indeed coming. Most times they weren't. One particular busy late day in spring, I had just promised the twins I'd be at their softball playoff game that night, and I persuaded William and Michelle to give me a break with the he did, she did, you know, just for a little while. I thumbed through my textbooks, searching for something to say in the weekly sociology essay. This one was about capital punishment. Then Marie rushed into the room. Because of her obsessive behaviors, she demanded more attention. Mom, the parakeets just flew in the garage. I was so glad I hadn't let the school psychologist say she needed a puppy to care for. Oh, yeah. So I looked up and Marie's bouncing up and down. If I only had her energy, I could finish this paper. I was cleaning the cage in the back room and William opened the door to the... Patience. I just needed patience. Keep the garage door open to the back room. The birds will decide to come to the brighter area. It's dark in the garage. But, she whimpered. Call them, I said. They know your voice. Marie finally left the Florida room, and I returned back to my blank document and fumbled through the notebooks again, trying to wrap my head around this subject. I looked in the other books on my desk, and the professor said to think outside that box. Fingers at the ready, I glanced back and forth between the reading materials, finally realizing I was highly uncomfortable thinking outside that box. I was too concrete. Say something to me, I told the books. Right about then, Michelle popped her head into the room. Hey, Mom, it's time for Marie's orthodontist appointment. She always read the notes I left for myself on the refrigerator. You know, Michelle's kind of like an adult stuck in a 12-year-old body, most times. Determined to have something on the page, I typed, writing critical papers with 5 kids around could be considered a form of capital punishment. Then I hit save, not because there was anything worth saving, but merely out of habit. I taped a note on the computer, don't touch on penalty of death. And I grabbed the notebook and left the house.